Once, in a small village by the sea, there lived a fisherman named Marcus. He was a simple man who spent his days casting his net into the waves, hoping for a good catch. The sea was unpredictable. Some days it gave generously, and other days it left him empty-handed. But Marcus never complained. He had learned from his father, and his father before him, that the sea was not something you could control. You could only control how you responded to it. Marcus was content with his life, but his neighbor, Lucius, was not. Lucius was always restless, always wanting more. When the sea was calm, he cursed the lack of wind to fill his sails. When the wind blew strong, he feared it would tear his nets. When his catch was small, he raged at the sea. When it was plentiful, he worried the next day would bring nothing. His mind was never at peace. One evening, after a long day, with little to show for it, Lucius stormed into Marcus's hut. "How can you sit there so calmly?" he demanded. "The sea has taken everything from us today, and yet you act as if nothing is wrong." Marcus looked up from mending his net and smiled. "The sea does not give or take by my will," he said. "If I let its moods control my happiness, I would be as turbulent as the waves. I do not own the sea. I only own my thoughts." Lucius frowned. "That's easy for you to say. You don't have a family to feed." Marcus nodded. "True, but if I did, would worry put more fish in my net? Would anger calm the storm? The sea is the same for both of us. The difference is in how we meet it." Lucius sat down, frustrated but curious. "You speak as if you don't care whether you succeed or fail." Marcus shook his head. "I care, but I do not cling. I do my best with what I have. If the catch is good, I am grateful. If it is bad, I endure." "That is the way of the Stoics." "The Stoics?" Lucius echoed. Marcus explained. "Long ago, wise men in Athens and Rome taught that suffering comes not from events, but from our judgments about them. A shipwreck is bad luck, but despair is a choice. A storm is just wind and water. It is our fear that makes it terrible. The more we try to control what isn't ours, the more we suffer." Lucius thought about this. "So you're saying I should stop wanting more?" "No," Marcus said. "Wanting is natural, but suffering because the world does not bend to your will, that is foolish. The fisherman who demands the sea to be still will always be disappointed. The one who accepts its nature finds peace." Over the next weeks, Lucius tried to practice what Marcus had said. When the winds were harsh, he reminded himself that fighting them would not change their course. When his nets came up empty, he told himself that tomorrow was another day. It was not easy. Old habits of anger and worry returned often. But slowly he noticed something. His suffering was lighter. The sea had not changed, but he had. Then one morning disaster struck. A storm unlike any they had seen before raged through the village. Waves crashed over the docks, tearing boats from their moorings. Lucius' boat, his prized possession, was shattered against the rocks. He stood on the shore, watching years of hard work destroyed in moments. His first instinct was to scream, to curse the gods, to fall into despair. But then he remembered Marcus's words, "The sea does not give or take by my will." He took a deep breath. The loss was real. The pain was real. But he would not let it destroy him. When Marcus found him, Lucius was already gathering pieces of wood from the wreckage. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked. "Building a new boat," Lucius said. Marcus smiled. "You've learned well?" Lucius nodded. "The storm took my boat, but it did not take my hands, my skills, or my will to go on. I can rebuild." And so he did. The work was hard, but he no longer resented it. He no longer saw misfortune as an enemy, but as a test of his character. Other villagers, seeing his calm determination, began to ask him for advice. He told them what Marcus had taught him, that suffering is optional, that peace comes from within, that no external force can take away your freedom to choose your response. Years passed. Lucius became known not as the man who lost his boat, but as the man who never lost himself. His life was not free of hardship. No life ever is. But he faced each challenge with a quiet strength. One evening, as the sun set over the water, Marcus sat beside him. "You've changed," Marcus said. Lucius looked at the horizon. "The sea hasn't." Marcus laughed. "No, but you have learned to sail it no matter the weather." Lucius nodded. "Because I no longer fight the wind. I adjust my sails." And in that moment, he understood the true power of Stoic detachment. It was not about not caring. It was about caring deeply, but wisely. It was about knowing the difference between what you can change and what you must accept. It was about finding strength not in control, but in surrender to what is. The waves would keep rising. The storms would keep coming. But he would remain steady, not because the world was fair, but because he had chosen to be unshaken. And that made all the difference.